So I've been meaning to make this video for a little while now, and I think now is the perfect time to do it. I'm going to tell you about my story and how I completely reinvented my life at 23 years of age. I went from feeling lost, feeling alone, feeling broken, to a thriving business, to happiness, to enjoyment, to fulfillment, and a life of purpose. And I think many of us aspire to have this life, so I think it's my duty to share with you my story and hopefully inspire you to make a change for yourself. So, for context, my name is Dara. I am the founder of Tusig and Tusig Health, and I'm on a mission to positively influence and impact 1,000 people's lives across the next couple of years. And to do that, it'll probably be a good place to start to help you understand where I am currently at and where I came from. And then, like I said, hopefully you can use that to your advantage in your own life. So, I'm going to break this story and break my story up into a couple of different sections. We're going to call them arcs. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I want you to understand the same way the guys inside Tusig Health understand their own journey. I like to use the term the journey as, your life or the journey towards your goal. And for me, my journey started playing football or soccer for you Americans. Um, I played at a pretty high level here in Ireland, where I'm from, and football was my entire life, and it was my entire identity. If someone asked me who I was, my name was Dara, and I was a footballer, and there was no other part of my life. And I actually speak to a lot of people who are in similar situations where their business or their job, or let's say they are a footballer, a professional footballer, these guys do identify as a footballer. They don't identify as a human. And I definitely felt this. It was the first kind of time where I ever really questioned myself. I was kind of in a bit of a hole in my own personal life, and I went and spoke to someone for the first time, and she asked me, who are you? And like I said, I said my name is Dara. I'm a footballer, and she said that's wrong. And like I said, it was the first time that I ever really questioned myself and my own identity. And I think as I continued to play football, I kind of just brushed it to the back of my mind and continued to focus on my football, which was my entire life. Yes, my school was somewhat important, but it was my goal to become a professional footballer from the age of 13. And in theory, I got pretty close. I got pretty close. I played at the highest level in this country at underage, and I was one step away from signing from the professional team in the club that I was with. I then decided, instead of signing for the professional team, to take my abilities and my talent to the US to go play college soccer. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about the kind of scholarship system or the student athlete system in the US, basically you get a scholarship, you go and study in the US, you go to college, you get a degree, but you're practically like a professional footballer. You train 5 days a week and you play 2 games a week. Your schedule is back to back to back to back. And this is where I kind of learned a lot of skills in terms of time management, in terms of, obviously training and treating my body correctly. And this is where I had my wake up. So my first arc was the footballer arc, or we could call this the sleepwalking arc. And this is kind of the journey that I use for the guys inside Tusig Health, is like this sleepwalking section where we're kind of just like, our life is unknown. Our life is this kind of bliss life. We've no real negative experiences, no real super positive experiences either. We're kind of just coasting. Arc 2 is, for me, the wake up. And this came as I was living in the US. I was living 5,000, 6,000 kilometers away from my family, my friends. I had to go out to make new friends. And while I settled in quite well, I got injured a lot. So I was injured for about 75% of my college career. My first 2 seasons, I tore both hamstrings, and then my third season I played, and my fourth season I fractured my hip. So I really only played for 1 season of my college career. Um, it's funny. People see the life. People see the trips to Miami or the trips to New York over the summer, and on Instagram you live this great life, but deep down, you have this sickness, this illness almost, and you feel as though you are not living up to your full potential. And that's the feeling that I felt. I was in a team, the environment was great, we were winning games, everyone was happy, and I had to be happy for the team. But deep inside, I was dying slowly. You know, when we win, you have to act happy, you have to go out and you have to celebrate with the team, but you know that you didn't contribute in any sort of way. And like I said, that killed me, you know. It was the first this time again was the first time where I woke up. And the questioning here is a really important part. I talk about this wake up a lot, and this is where the brand started, but before the brand actually started and before Tusig started, I had to wake up. So I had this moment of realization where I hit rock bottom. The 2 seasons of not playing at all, trying to get back in the team and forcing my way to train and to eat right, and all this piled up to lead me down a really dark path. And this dark path I call now, and after some critical thinking, I call this the hole. And the hole is like this deep dark pit that is so deep that you can't see up on either side. You an event triggers you to fall into this hole, which for me was the injuries and not playing over 2 years. I fell into this hole, and I only really realized that I was falling or descending into the hole when I was at the bottom. And the harsh thing is, when you're at this bottom of the hole, you actually can't climb back up to where you were, because you know what you know. You can't go back to that sleepwalking stage. You have to climb out the other side and climb up. But how do you do that? And that question for me changed my entire life. Was the how. You know, I've fully realized and I fully acknowledged that I'm in this hole. How do I change? And that's where the brand started. So my word, and I'm branding this word as my word, the word start. And that's where the brand Tusig came from. So for any non-Irish people, the word Tusig, Tosaigh, means to start in our native language. And I kind of shortened it a little bit to make a brand out of it. And Tosig, the motto is just start. And the idea behind the brand, and the brand came to me at my darkest moment, was you're not going to get anywhere if you don't just start. And it was this realization that lit a fire inside of me and brought me on 100 more arcs. But I'm only going to explain the third one in a bit more detail and have a broader arc in that sense. But this second arc was the questioning arc and finding myself. And to me, it was the biggest wake up of my entire life. And I am so glad that I got that out of the way, that now I can move forward, And I think so many of us are on the descent. So many of us are falling into the hole. If you fell into the hole, then you know it's time to change. You know something needs to change, and it's often you that needs to change. And you need to just start. And you need to climb out of the hole. The third arc is, and possibly is, where I'm at right now. For context, my business done the best it's ever done last month. I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been in. I have built relationships over the last couple of months with people that I would have never dreamed of. Dara at the start of Arc 1 is a completely different human to Arc 3. And Arc 3, I'm going to call the purpose arc and finding your purpose. Because I think so many of us always question and say like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my mission is. Well, I'm very fortunate that I found my purpose. And how I found my purpose was I started. I just tried a load of stuff until I found what stuck. I tried I tried content. So again, something that I'm continuously doing now. But the first thing I ever done was content. I started writing emails about self-development, about self-improvement, the journey that I was just going on. I just started writing, and people started to follow, people started to learn, and people started to message me saying, I really like what you're talking about. And that kind of lit a fire inside of me, and that kind of got me thinking on this path that other people have a desire to do the same thing that I've just done. I've just woken up, and back then when I started creating content, I knew that I wanted to brand it in some sort of way that I could help people. Luckily, I'm at that stage now, but I needed to do a couple of other things to get to this stage and get to the place where I'm at right now. The next thing I tried to build a software. So for anyone that doesn't know, building software is extremely difficult, especially if you don't know how to code. Now, yes, AI can probably do it for you, but this was like 3-4 years ago when ChatGPT couldn't even do the things that I wanted it to do. ChatGPT was brand new, and I was fascinated by AI back then, and I learned about prompt engineering. I learned about all about AI and how I could use AI to build the software, learn about design, learn about like how to use other softwares to build software. And then 6 months later down the line, I was like, this is too hard. I can't do this. So I then changed, and I went and I started to build a marketing agency. And that was kind of where I gathered some success, my first bit of success, and obviously my first bit of money online. But it was the skills that I learned from building that marketing agency and reaching out to clients and doing cold calls, things that were so far outside of my comfort zone, that gave me such a broader sense of the world, and put me in uncomfortable situations that I had to learn and that I had to grow from. And that has led me to now being able to help people just start too. And that's that's where I get my fulfillment. And that's where I found my purpose, to positively influence 1,000 people's lives and help them just start their journey to success. That is my purpose. And by filming this video, I am fulfilling my purpose. And it feels, and it lights a fire inside of me that I get to do this as my job. And I am truly grateful that I get to do this and help other people, come to the same realizations that I have. And of course, I've kind of glossed over a lot of the realizations that I have, and I go a lot more in depth on them inside of Tusik Health. But also in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, I'm going to make a lot more content and a lot more deeper content, because I think people need to understand it and people need to see that. But that comes to the end of Arc 3, and that brings us up to present day Dara. I've gone from, this footballer, this identity and identifying as a footballer, to feeling the lowest I've ever felt, to falling into the deep dark hole, to questioning myself, to questioning reality, to questioning the world, to then building the tools and building the skills necessary to climb out of that hole, and go on this insane journey of trying new things and building softwares and building companies. And now I'm at a stage where I can look back and feel as though, my journey has only just started. And I think that's the beauty in the brand that I'm trying to build and the message that I'm trying to convey. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and nothing changes if you don't just start. And I hope this message and this video finds the right people, and finds the people that maybe are a little lost, and maybe they need a little bit of guidance and they need a little bit of structure in their life. And if you're watching this and we're 13, 14, 15 minutes into the video, that means you probably are that person, and I don't want to sell you anything. I don't want to act like some sleazy salesman. If you are that person, there is a link in the bottom of this video that you can check out if you want. If you don't want to check it out, you don't have to. But it is my purpose to help and positively influence 1,000 people's lives. And I feel as though it is my duty to do so. And I'm truly excited for Arc 4, Arc 5, Arc 100, because I genuinely think Tusig and my brand is going to be one of the biggest in the world. And putting that out on the internet is obviously scary and stressful. However, I'm capable of it, and I know through the journey and through the skills that I've learned over the past couple of years that I am capable of it. So whether you want to follow from afar, whether you want to just support the channel in any way, you can do that by liking, subscribing, all that type of stuff. You can follow me on Instagram too if that's where you want to see more of me. But like I said, I think this is just a start. If you really want, you can go back and watch some of the previous videos and understand a little bit more about me and understand a bit more about my story, my journey. But hopefully over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go more deeper into how I got to where I got to and how I can help you get to where you really want to go to. So like I said, there is a link in the bottom of this video. If you want to check it out, you can. I help people just like you, figure out their own mind and build a structured plan to actually achieving their goals. But other than that, that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching to the end, and I will see you in the next one.